Welcome to another episode of Our Live with Amin. Today in your studios, we have a renowned spiritual leader and a master teacher from North America who's joined us to speak a little bit about his journey to his spirituality path. And he's going to talk about a little bit about consciousness and our life today and how we can deal with stress and depression. So welcome Harinam Singh Khalsa.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you for coming to our studio.
It's my privilege.
Yes, and I've watched your shows over the years, and I've listened to your speaking and to your the workshops, and you have actually motivated a lot of people and showed us the others how to be more conscious about our life. So today, we're going to a little bit have a conversation on what's consciousness, because everybody have a different definition of consciousness. So what is consciousness to you, and how would you describe that?
Consciousness would be described as your awareness, how aware you are, and it comes in three forms: the body, the mind, and the spirit. So consciousness is being aware and alert to your actions, your words, how you process yourself in life, and how you define your own reality, and to live your heart and to live your truth. And when consciousness is applied to any action that you do with the intention of helping others, with the intention of wanting to uplift. So consciousness is your ability to go deeper into your own infinite self, to see the purity, the truth, and the inner light that is within you. And by understanding that and feeling that and experiencing that, it changes your perspective and brings you into that realm of a neutral consciousness, a neutral mind, to be able to filter, to see, and to understand your environments.
So it's all connected to your inner life, inner self, is
Yes.
that the consciousness. But how does that happen? Like, how does consciousness happen? Because we talk about that, and how would you describe that? How can somebody be conscious about it?
Well, Ji, we've been teaching now for so many years. I've been meditating over 50 years now, yoga 40 some odd years. And it's a constant daily working of yourself. We work out, we want to be physically strong, but we also have to do that inner work. Mm-hmm. And that inner work has to raise our spirit. So when we are able to bring into ourselves a spiritual understanding, so this life just isn't physical, where we have an understanding that we both have a finite life, we do our day-to-day life, we're here, we're doing this, but we also have to have an experience of our infinity. Infinity means the vastness. Every human being mm-hmm. has the capacity to know the unknown, to see the unseen, and to hear the unheard. Mm-hmm. Every human being has that capacity. That's the intuitive consciousness. When we apply intuitive consciousness, and we're able to see beyond the limitation of ourselves, but what gets us to that consciousness? It's nice to say, hey, I want to be there. Doesn't everybody want to be there? But how do we get there? Through my experience, we achieve that through meditation. We achieve it through a spiritual practice. There's many, many practices out there today. But what's most important, especially through these changing times we live in, we call this the Kali Yuga, or a darker time. It's an age where we can see that, it's either going to go this way or that way in life. Mm-hmm. But we have that perspective that the world will shift. And in the shifting of this world, it will shift to the consciousness of humanity where peace can prevail. So that's an understanding that we reach. And how do we go into ourselves? Because it all begins with you. You have to make that commitment within yourself to want to change. We go along in our lives and we're not happy. And we don't feel that we're connected to a God and what is a God? That which lives inside of us. G-O-D, generates, organizes, delivers. Mm-hmm. And that exists within us. It's not something outside. Let me reach to some God. No, God is inside of you. That understanding of that is within you. A spiritual life gives you that relationship, and then consciousness follows that. Because then you become aware that you're not just this physical body. But there's all these other parts. We have a soul body, we have a radiant body, we have a pranic body, right? We have an auric body. We have all these different layers within it. We have those chakras, right? The energy systems. It's all part of a concept of a human being beyond a limitation of just being a physical self. So consciousness develops when you develop that understanding that you can go beyond your own limitation and serve others through that and help others and be in that awareness. We know when we slip from that, we become very negative.
And you touched a very important part on the being conscious and to get into the spiritual life. And I think there's a question sometimes a lot of people are kind of mistaken with the part being spiritual or being religion.
Yes.
So I think there we need to have that kind of, what's the difference between religion and spiritual, because they're actually separate. So if you want to a little bit highlight on that.
Right. So somebody asked me one day, how would you define spirituality?
Yeah.
And I defined it as the actualization of your spirit. Right? We all have spirit. The spirit is stronger than anything else. What keeps us alive longer is our spirit. When we have the actualization of our spirit and we want to have a relationship with that which created us, we are creatures. We were created. We were created by some creator, however you wish to define it in your belief system. And when we have that association to that understanding that we were created by a creator, and we manifest that within this form, and to live that spirituality is to live, again, it ties into the consciousness of how we want to relate to our actions, our deeds, our speech, all that we do in life, so that we can move forward. Everyone wants to prosper. Everybody wants abundance in their lives, right?
Yep.
And it said, we say, Prabhupada Simran said, no, that now those treasures are right at your footsteps. Everything we need is at our feet. Every gem and jewel and ruby that we need is there. But we only see the little pebble of sand. We don't see the vastness. So spirituality is that relationship you have within yourself. Some may be very religious. That's their choice. Everyone has a choice. But to be spiritual today means to live in the true actualization of the living truth and the living heart, so that when you look through your eyes, you don't just see a person, but you see the light that lives in the heart of every soul. Can you imagine in this world if through these eyes we see the light that lives in the heart of every soul? Not that I should look at you and say, this is what's wrong with you, but let's look and say, what is right with you? We all have pluses and minuses. Who doesn't?
Yes.
Right? We all do. But let us focus. So the spirituality is when you within yourself focus on all those pluses, and then those minuses get cleared.
And the other thing is when we talk about the spirituality, we talked about that being part of the universe. And, sometimes there's this illusion where people think world is like this, world's like that. And what do you think, when it comes to that, how do we define as a human in this universe? Because we are not really separated, but sometimes what is your thoughts on that?
Well, even if we look at the word human, hue, H-U-E, means radiance, means glow. Man means that being. So in the word human itself means what? Radiant being. Not dull, and not, but a shining light. So the relationship has become that shining light. And feel it within yourself, then depression will not touch you. When people become depressed, two things happen. One is they forget about their beauty, and second is they don't see their light.
Right.
I teach a simple meditation, I am beautiful, I am light. And we've cured a lot of people, helped a lot of people. You've done that with me in the years. I am beautiful, I am light. When we see the beauty and see the light within ourselves, not what is wrong with us, but because our negative mind is stronger than any. We have three minds, negative, positive, and neutral. And the negative mind is the strongest mind of any. And it overtakes us. And depression happens. What's depression? Depression means a dip. When we dip, we become depressed. So I say, let's not be depressed in life. Let us be impressed with life. Don't be frustrated. Be first rated.
Persuaded.
Aren't
Yeah.
you?
I like those little synonyms you have that, not to be depressed, but to be impressed. And I think you have shared that in your book here, The Wisdom Shared.
Yes.
I know you have a new updated book on this one, but you did talk about the chapter Managing Stress
Yes.
and Depression in it.
Yes.
And I think that's for today's world, the way the technology is. And I actually like this because there's something you touched in this, how the technology was invented to make our life easier.
Yes.
So we can spend more time at home with families, but it kind of taken to a point where it's coming from work to home on this technology. So how do you guide people on that how can they manage that stress?
The managing of that stress starts with your own personal practice, a spiritual practice, a morning practice. My practice is I begin in the Amrit Vela. Amrit Vela means that time of the nectar. I rise before the sun rises, and I'm meditating and doing my prayers as the sun is rising. And as that sun rises, our spirit rises with that. So I prepare myself for the day. So the concept is there's 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
If you give 10% of those 24 hours, 2.4 hours, to your personal spiritual growth, right? Then the concept is the other 90% gets looked after for you. I don't have to chase around. We spend so much. You ever see that dog that chases its tail and never gets it, right?
Yeah.
And goes in circles and circles. But the mind is that same way. So we have to learn how to balance ourselves, center ourselves within, feel an expansion within ourselves, become more calm, become more still. We've talked so many years about that. And be able to slow yourself down, to breathe properly. In our workshops, and we're planning some workshops together, we're going to work on how to slow the breath down, breathing techniques and exercises for better circulation, because everything is in that trinity of body, mind, and spirit.
Right.
Physical, mental, and within the spirit. What we eat, how we digest our food, how we exercise, how is the circulation in our body. Everybody today has some displeasure in their body. People want to lose weight, or people are feeling tight, or their muscles are tight. When the body is tight and tense, everything tenses up. The mind tenses up everything. And then the mind, we want to prepare that mind. Why do we meditate? Why do we do Simran, meditation, chanting? So that the mind can unravel in the subconscious. When subconscious becomes so filled and has no way of releasing, it goes back into the body. That's why they say that 80% of illness comes from outside to the inside. So 1 is physical, 2 is mental, and the 3rd is our spiritual. And we define that spirituality as the actualization of your spirit within you. To acknowledge yourself that you are that radiant soul. And as soon as you can acknowledge that and work towards that, which we do in our workshops, that begins the healing process, right? We all have an inner anger. We all have reasons. We can blame everybody for everything. But at some point, we have to take responsibility. And we can do it in a gentle way. It doesn't have to be a crashing thing. Do it in a gentle way as we breathe more deeply from our navel point, as our breath becomes more fuller. As we say, if you have a shallow breath, you have a shallow life, right? So we want to be able to learn how to breathe deeper, to relax our body system, to focus here, to meditate at the third eye, to feel that vibration within ourselves, because a human is a vibration and a vibrational force. Then we can really bring out that power within. Every human being is powerful, but we don't recognize it within ourselves.
Yeah, because we're always looking for something outside, right?
Correct.
We're always looking that power that's not within us. How can I get it from outside? But it's all inside of us, inside of us.
Saturdays at 1:30 p.m., Alive with Aman brings you important conversations with leaders in our communities. Fridays at 8:30 p.m., join Rasta Mike for a look at African and Caribbean culture through music and community events, presented in English.
And when we talk about life, and it's a question, what is life in the first place?
Well, when I was a kid, Life was a magazine.
Yeah,
Life,
because it's a question, right? No, we talk about life, but what is life?
life is how you perceive it.
Yeah.
You can perceive life as a beautiful growing way of understanding, of serving this world, of seva, of giving of yourself, of helping to educate, to reach out, to teach out. We're in a time where we need each other. We need to support each other. We need to be not just understand each other, but stand under each other. So we can see life in that way, which is a growing movement, which will change the planet. Or we can be very negative. Everything is falling apart. Everything is, who cares anyways? It's all going to fall apart. It's all going to be the end of everything, and stay in that state of depression and that unhappiness. That's why I have a simple cure. When I say, what's the cure? I say simple. Rather than medicate, meditate.
Meditate. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Vibrate within yourself. So there are, a lot of ways that we can heal. I do a lot of counseling to help people through that. You can reach me through my email for counseling appointments.
Yeah, and we will have that on the show.
Have a better understanding of that within yourself, right? To go within yourself. And because there comes a time, when do we change? When there's a wake-up call.
Yeah.
We get very sick. We get very uptight. We're having trouble with our families. Something happens, and that alarm goes off, and you say, if I don't change, I'm not going to survive.
Yeah. And if you don't take an action of changing, then you go to the other side of the depression side, right?
And there's lots of medications and things, and you become like a zombie, but you don't have the quality of life.
That's true.
Right? And we work on helping people develop a higher quality of living of their choice. I want each of you to define it within yourself. You have your way, you have your way, I have my way of how I define it within myself that supports that within me. Right?
Yeah.
We help to give people techniques if they wish to learn those. But that's what gives that support. And when we don't have that support within ourselves, it's very difficult, and we run away from it. But we can only run so far until it catches up, right?
Yeah.
And when it catches up, you can become very sick, you can become very mentally depressed, you can become feeling very separated in life.
And the other book that you touched on before, on the consciousness, going back to what we talked, and you talked about Aquarian consciousness in your new book. If you want to just give us the insight, what is Aquarian consciousness?
Aquarian consciousness is everything we're talking about today. Yeah. We know about the different ages, right? The yugs, the ages. And we've come out of a 2,000-year cycle called the Piscean Age. And now we've transited into this, what we call the Aquarian Age. The Aquarian Age, which is governed by and I don't want to go too deep, too far, we don't have so much time today, but, everything is based on the planets, the solar system. It's not separate, right? Somebody can say, oh, I'm the master of the world, but really we're not the masters. We're governed by the entire universe. So the shifting of the ages, the changes, the stars, the planets, all of that routine, everything that is going on, is affecting all of us. We see it in our children today, how very alert. They're sensory children. This is the age of the sensory human. And we see it mostly in our young people. They're intuitive. They say things that we don't know where it came from. They ask us questions we can't answer, right? They're very alert, very much aware. So Aquarian means to hold that sense of consciousness of you within yourself as being part of a vastness. And you become vast in that. The concept of without beginning, without end. If we can see that within ourselves and not limit ourselves, then we can grow and change. So Aquarian in the Aquarian age, this coming age, is a very maternal. The Piscean age was very paternal. It was male dominated. And we can see what men did in its 2,000 years. Now, as usual, women are coming to clean up the mess, right? So the Aquarian age is very much maternal, right? The element of love, of acceptance, of embracement, and learning to achieve that consciousness within yourself where we can feel love for ourselves. I teach 4 basic pillars of understanding: know yourself, love yourself, trust yourself, and be yourself. And if you look at those 4 pillars, we base on our workshops those 4 pillars. And if anything doesn't answer to loving yourself, trusting yourself, knowing yourself, and being yourself, walk away. Simply. Because it will not serve your best interest. So consciousness is being aware. Am I loving myself in this situation? Am I trusting within myself? Do I know myself? And am I being myself? Because if I'm not myself, who am I?
That's true. You have to. It starts from within. And starting with when you do meditations, and you do it in the morning, and for sure we'll reach out and put that on the website on the screen too, where you can reach Harinam Singh Khalsa and about his workshops that he has now moved to BC. Going about infinite life and this today's age of occurring age and the trauma, what is one message you want to give the audience so that they can work towards that?
Learn to bring yourself to a place of change. Find a stillness within yourself, live in that stillness, breathe in that stillness, and be aware of what you do in this life. Be aware of your own consciousness, your ability to go beyond limitation, and your ability to see the light that lives in the heart of every soul. And the thing that I stress mostly is that if we didn't know self-love, self-hatred, we would never know self-love. And if we didn't know the depths of despair, we would never know the heights of ecstasy. So we all have some place that we start. Let us start from where we are. Let's grow through that together. Let us overcome those obstacles and move forward to a prosperous, successful, and happy life.
Wow. Well, thank you for joining us today, and you just gave us a lot of insight. I can actually sit here and talk to you for another hour because our conversations can really go deep. We will bring you back and have more conversations on this because there's a lot of knowledge that you have that needs to be offered outside, because I know that we need our generations coming forward, and this generation, we need that information so we can be more be alert and be more stable. And and it's just the way it's going. So sometimes we just need to step back and look into ourselves and kind of take a deep breath and see how we can take care of ourselves, because we take care of ourselves, then only we can take care of others, right? Well, thank you for joining us today,
my honor, my privilege.
and you gave us a very good insight on consciousness, and I'm hoping the audience had a bit of information and enjoyed the show, and we will bring more information on these topics in the future. And thank you for joining us, and have a good day.
Thank you. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Saturdays at 1:30 p.m., Alive with Aman brings you important conversations with leaders in our communities.